All right, let's get right into it. We've got a fantastic historical puzzle for you today. It's a mystery that's over 200 years old, all about a house, a family, and a story that, well, it just doesn't quite add up. So, this is where our story begins. Take a look at this house. This is Witheby, pictured around 1850. It was a pretty substantial place in Sidmouth, England. Maybe 10 bedrooms, surrounded by open fields. It was a comfortable home, for sure, but not some grand, sprawling estate. And here's the thing. Today, it's gone. Vanished. And that right there, that sets up our big question. You see, the official history tells one story about who built this house, but the facts, they seem to point in a totally different direction. So we're going to dig in and try to figure out who really built Witheby and what was the secret plan behind it all. Okay, so let's start with what everyone thought happened. The accepted story. For decades, local history books have all pointed to one very specific and honestly pretty surprising person. This quote from a book written in 1990 says it flat out. Witheby was built by a Mrs. Powys Floyd between 1800 and 1810. Now, that Mrs. title is a bit of a quirk of the time. It was often used as a sign of respect for unmarried women of a certain status. Her real name was Elizabeth Powys Floyd. And this is where it starts to get really interesting. Because, Elizabeth wasn't some kind of property developer, not at all. She was a single woman, and as far as anyone knows, she had absolutely zero experience designing or paying for a huge project like this. So where did this story even come from? All right, let's get into the clues. This is where we start to see how the official story, well, it doesn't just build, it kind of starts to crumble when you look a little closer. So, problem number one. And it's a big one. There's just no paper trail. Nothing. You'd think for a project this big there'd be something, right? But no wills, no land deeds, no financial records from that time connect Elizabeth to building or paying for Witheby. It's like a ghost in the archives. But just when you're ready to write the whole thing off as a local legend, a little piece of evidence from the time pops up and adds this amazing twist. So, check this out. A popular guidebook to the area, written back in the 1820s, mentions this other, smaller house she built called Powys Cottage. But listen to how they describe it. A second specimen of that lady's elegant and happy taste. Second? That implies there was a first one, right? Suddenly, the idea of her being a builder doesn't seem so crazy. And here we go again. The plot thickens. Just when one clue seems to support the story, another one blows a hole right through it. We have solid records that put Elizabeth hundreds of miles away in Kent from 1802 onwards. Her brother's wife had passed away, and she was there taking care of his kids. So, how on earth could she be in Kent and overseeing a massive building project back in Sidmouth at the exact same time? When a story gets this tangled, there's one thing you can always do. Follow the money. So let's ask the most important question here. Who actually had the cash to build a 10-bedroom house from the ground up? Well, all the evidence points away from Elizabeth. Her dad was a junior officer who died young. The family just wasn't rich. In fact, her brother actually had to borrow money to get his army commission. And Elizabeth, she was living on a small inheritance from her mom and about £100 a year from her brother. That's not exactly build-a-mansion money. Her brother, General John Floyd, though, now that is a completely different story. By 1800, he was back in England after spending 18 years in India. We're talking a general's salary, which was almost £1,000 a year. That's like £130,000 today. Plus, he'd built up a serious fortune. He had the money for a project like Witheby, no question about it. So you see this huge financial gap, right? And that's what leads us to a brand new theory. And honestly, it's a much more compelling one. It's not about a mysterious benefactor. It's a story about a loving, protective older brother and his secret plan for his family. Okay, now look at the timeline. It all starts to click into place. The Witheby project kicks off in 1800, the exact same year General John gets back from India with all that money. Then, in 1802, his wife tragically dies. Elizabeth, being the good sister she is, moves to Kent to help with the kids. And right after that, John gets deployed to Ireland, which was a pretty dangerous place to be. And all this time, guess what? Construction is quietly humming along back in Sidmouth. So here's the theory. Plain and simple. Witheby was never meant to be just for Elizabeth. It was John's big plan, his grand vision. He was building a large, safe home for his kids and his sister, a place where the whole family could finally settle down once his military days were done. But that still leaves one question. Why was Elizabeth's name attached to it? Well, think about it. John's a soldier, and he's heading off to Ireland, a place where things could get very real, very fast. He knew there was a chance he might not return. So by putting the house in his sister's name, someone he trusted completely, he was basically setting up an insurance policy. It was an incredible act of love and foresight, making sure she and his kids would be taken care of, no matter what happened to him.
Okay, but that brings us to the last piece of the puzzle, right? If Witheby was this grand family dream home, why did they sell it? Why didn't they ever actually live there together?
The answer is, well, it's something we can all understand. Life happened. A decade went by. By the time John was back from Ireland for good, he was older, he was having health problems. And his kids? They weren't kids anymore. They were young adults starting their own lives. His son joined the army, his daughters were getting married. The family just wasn't the same. Their needs were completely different. And this comparison says it all, doesn't it? On one side, you've got Witheby, that grand 10-bedroom vision for a big, young family. But it just wasn't practical anymore. It was a dream from a different era. Their new reality was much closer to the modest 5-bedroom home they'd lived in before. So that was it. The grand plan was set aside. They sold Witheby, and it seems pretty clear they used the money to build that smaller, more practical Powys cottage. And that brings us right back to the guidebook, doesn't it? Elizabeth's second specimen. It was the perfect home for her later years, and it was still a testament to her brother's love and his plan to take care of her. So in the end, the Witheby mystery kind of shows us that the real truth isn't always in the official records, is it? Sometimes the most important stories are hidden in the quiet choices people make for the ones they love. And it really makes you wonder how many other family histories aren't written down in ink, but are built right into the bricks and mortar of the homes they left behind.